This is not only unconstitutional, but this is crazy. This video is brought to you by The Officer Tatum Store. The Officer Tatum Store. Get the merch link in the description section. Also visit beatenblackandblue.com. Beatenblackandblue.com. That is in the description section as well. That's how you get my brand new book, Policing in America from B. Tatum's Perspective. Let's get into this. Ladies and gentlemen, somebody sent me a message on my email just the other day, said, Brandon, you got to do a video about HR 127. HR 127. If you haven't read about it, I'm going to give you the information that you need to know. Just know on face value, just know at the beginning of this video, if you end up having to run somewhere and you can't watch the whole thing, it is unconstitutional and crazy. And I'm going to show you exactly why. And I'm going to tell you why the person who authored this bill or introduced this bill in the House is a nut job. Now, Sheila Jackson Lee, and people, if you remember and you follow me for a long time, I made a video about Sheila Jackson Lee. I'm going to play it here in a second. Sheila Jackson Lee is advocating this gun legislation in the House of Representatives, and she has to be the dumbest person on planet Earth. She has no idea what an AR-15 is. She has no idea the caliber of ammo, but she's the one introducing this bill. Let me play the clip, and this video got 1.5 million views not too long ago. Let me play you the clip of Sheila Jackson Lee not knowing anything about what she's talking about related to guns. Roll the film.
My bill that I've introduced dealing with the caliber weapon, I've held an AR-15 in my hand. I wish I had it. It is as heavy as 10 boxes that you might be moving.
An AR is heavier than 10 boxes that you may be moving. Sheila, I know you don't know what an AR-15 is, but this is an AR-15. I'm holding this thing with 2 fingers. Fully loaded AR-15 with the mag and everything in it. 10 boxes that you may be holding. This is lighter than a shotgun. She don't know what she talking about. But Sheila Jackson Lee swear to God that thing is that heavy. You clearly have never held an AR-15. Let's continue.
And the bullet that is utilized, a 50 caliber, these kinds of bullets need to be licensed and do not.
A 50 caliber bullet and an AR-15. Let me give you an example with a 50 caliber bullet versus a 223. There are some exceptions, but she don't know that. 3 look like. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an AR-15 bullet. A 223 bullet, they make 5.56 about the same. This is a 50 cal. How do you mistake this with this? She has no idea what she's talking about. And she doesn't. She don't know what she's talking about. She's an idiot. So just to set the precedent, just to set the framework, this is the lady that's introducing HR 127. Now, I'm going to go to HR 127, and we're going to look at it together because this is the most radical legislation that I have seen in a very long time. And I think anybody who is interested in their amendments, Second Amendment rights, or their constitutional rights should be leery of these things. And this is what you need to know. First and foremost, HR 127, they are trying to introduce a license that the Attorney General will issue on a federal level, a license that every gun owner have to abide by, meaning that you have to go through, you have to register all of your firearms. Every firearm that has been given to people in America that they purchased has to be registered, and they have to give you a license. Now, I went through this bill, and I didn't see any pricing on the licenses, but I guarantee you it's going to be expensive to license your firearm. Now, there's 320 million plus guns in the United States of America legally, and this is a money grab. They're going to make everybody that own a gun have a license, and they're going to have a license they probably have to pay per gun. And not only do you have to have a license per gun, you have to have a license also identifying your ammo. You have to tell the government what guns you have, how much ammo you have. You have to tell the government where this gun is being stored in your house, and you have to notify the federal government if you loan somebody your gun. Give somebody your gun to go hunt. If you let somebody take a gun to the gun range, you have to notify the federal government that you are doing that. It's called loaning the gun to somebody. You have to notify our federal government. Another troubling thing that I saw on here that just blows my mind is this section right here. It says the Attorney General shall make the contents of the database, meaning the database with everybody's firearm that is registered, accessible to all members of the public, the federal, state, and local law enforcement authorities, all branches of the United States Armed Forces, and all state and local governments as defined by the Bureau. Why should your ownership of firearms be made available to the public? Why should your firearms be? People don't have no right to know what guns you have or do not have in your possession. And why does the United States military need to know what guns you have on domestic soil? Why is that apparent? It gets worse. It gets worse. Let's go down to Section 6, because this is where it gets crazy as well. Is that if you have to have a requirement for a psychological evaluation, and this is the evaluation right here. So not only do you have to have a psychological evaluation to get a license, let me go up a little bit because I think this is important as well. You have to get, in order to get this thing, you have to do safety training, prove the storage of your weapon, and at least 24 hours of training. Now, if you have one of these, what they call military weapons, who's going to pay for that? That's another couple $100 they're going to charge you, and it's inadequate, and you don't need to do that. But the psychological evaluation, not only do you have to go through a psychological evaluation to own a firearm, you have to go through a psychological evaluation to own ammo. And not only do you have to go through a psychological evaluation, right here in this subsection C, it says deemed necessary by the licensed psychological involved or the licensed psychologist involved to evaluation includes a psychological evaluation for other members of the household in which the individual resides. That means that not only you have to go through a psychological evaluation, they're going to take other people who live with you through a psychological evaluation. If you thought that was bad, let's go to page 9. It's actually page 8. This is where it gets nasty and deep down dusted and disgusted, because this is where they slip this in to take away your constitutional rights. In this section above here, they say that if you have any chronic illnesses, if you have any brain disease, if you are not fit to be a person who could consciously carry a firearm. I think that's subjective to whatever government power that's in place, but here's where you out of your rights. Here's where you out of your rights. I had to get my cuss word right. This is where they get you. It says prior psychological treatment or evaluation of individuals indicated that the individual engaged in conduct that poses a danger to self or others. See, this is they can easily petition people who they do not agree with and who they do not find to be sound individuals according to their logic and understanding, meaning that what happened at the Capitol, they can deem you that you have to be evaluated psychologically because you participated in what happened at the Capitol to retain your license to own a firearm. And if they deem that what you did at the Capitol or what you did at a rally or whoever you support, or if you're part of the Proud Boys, whoever they deem by the Attorney General of the United States of America, which is under the direction of the President of the United States of America, then they can put you on this list and you can lose your license. Now, Brandon Tatum, what happens if I lose my license? Here's where you go down to page, I think it's page 13. Now let's keep going down to the penalties. Let's see, I think it's 15 when you start seeing these fines. So you go down to the penalty portion, which is on page 15. And if you are knowingly in violation of having a firearm without a license, meaning that you have to pay ungodly amounts of money for licenses, and I failed to mention the insurance, which if you look at the statement here, I think it's like $900, $800 a year. And they're not saying how much insurance you have or how many guns that will insure, but at least $800 a year, plus your licenses, plus all the training that they want you to go to, plus the psychological evaluation that you're probably going to have to pay for, that they're going to either bill your insurance or you're going to pay out of pocket. If you are found guilty, penalties, if you are found guilty, and it says that you are knowingly violation section 922 AA, shall be fined no less than $75,000, no more than $150,000, in prison for no less than 15 years and no more than 25 years, or both, meaning that you can get this fine and 25 years in prison. And then it goes subsequently, different subsections, they lighten up the penalty. This is where it gets ugly and crazy. And because, let me tell you this, you guys have seen all of this. You read it. You can read it for yourself. I'll put the link in the description section. But this is not constitutional. Trying to license every gun is a money grab. 300-some million people licensed and insuring and making you go through training and a psychological evaluation and putting your whole family through psychological evaluations. You have to fill out a form and have licenses to have ammo. And if they deem you a danger to yourself or others, now they remove all of your guns and ammo. You have to return, you have to give them to the government. This is communism. This is communism. And let me say this. Let me tell you why this won't work. This is not going to prevent or make anybody safer. Because not one part of any of this legislation is it talking about people who are illegally possessing firearms. None of this legislation is talking about how to stop and prevent people from illegally possessing firearms. And what penalty do they get? They don't care about a $75,000 fine if you are already in possession of an illegal firearm. If you are already have the intent to commit a crime that holds a greater penalty than 25 years in prison, you don't care about these laws. You don't care. If you are or have some malicious intent, you're not going to register your gun. You're going to evade the police. How do you know this, Mr. Tatum? Because I was a police officer for 6.5 years, and I used to arrest people all the time for being prohibited possessors. They did not care. They committed armed robberies and other violent crimes with that stolen gun or with that illegal gun they possessed. Didn't care. On probation, they didn't care. Arrested people all the time. Those are the people that this legislation is not going to prevent. You're just going to stop law-abiding citizens from owning firearms, and you're causing them to tax their constitutional right. That's almost like taxing freedom of speech. You're taxing the Second Amendment. You are putting that price tag on people's right to carry arms. And if you don't have the money, you can't pay for the license. If you don't have the money, you cannot afford the insurance. If you don't have the money, you cannot buy more than one gun to protect your family. If you got a person in your house that's mentally unstable, and although you can lock your weapons up and everything, if you have somebody in your house that's a Trump supporter, if you have somebody in your house that mentioned the Capitol and mentioned that they support conservative values, then they are going to deem that it's unnecessary and they're not going to give you a license. Therefore, you can't own a firearm. It's out of control and crazy and deranged. And the person who's authoring this, and I showed you at the beginning of the video, she don't even know what an AR is, but she's authoring this bill. And there's a lot more garbage in this bill that I just glossed through it because I don't want this to be a 55-minute video and you can't watch it. There is stuff in this thing about magazine capacities. Only 10-round mags. Like, if you know anything about firearm and ballistics and any tactical anything about ARs or anything, a tactical reload or a dry reload, it takes you a second if you have any kind of gun experience. You drop the mag, you put the mag in, you're ready to go. All you need is 3 of those mags instead of one long mag. And you can drop it, drop it, drop it. It's nothing to somebody who's committed. And them 223s, 10 at a time versus 30 at a time, is going to still do the same amount of damage to people if somebody has their intent set on hurting other individuals. You're not going to stop anything. And then you got to say 10 rounds of a 5.56 versus 10 rounds of a 308 or 7.62. Somebody just used a 308 with 10 rounds instead of using a 5.56 with 10 rounds. And it's gonna tear you up. But these people don't understand anything about ballistics. They don't understand anything about guns. They just want to raise money off of your constitutional right. They want to tax you every way they can and put you in prison if you don't abide by their rules. They want to know who has what and who has what when, so when they come to confiscate your life and take you to a FEMA camp, they'll know what they're up against. Because now you've provided every firearm that you have. They know what ballistic capabilities you have. They know everything about you, and they open it up to the public. So if somebody want to discriminate against you because you own firearms, they have public record to say this guy owns 45 firearms. We don't like this guy. We won't give him an opportunity. He's a danger to whatever. It's just exactly what they're trying to do. The government has no right to know how many guns you have. The government has no right to know that. The only right that the government has to know is that if you commit a crime and now they have to get thrusted into an investigation, then they can go and investigate and get a search warrant and all of those different things. But your own personal protection is strategically withheld from other people but yourself. So when stuff hit the fan, people don't know what you got. When somebody want to come rob you, they don't know you riding, that you got that fire. Therefore, they can come in there and get wet up like a tornado and a hurricane and a snowstorm combined, if that's what they want to do. But if they look at your record and say, and let me say this, let's put it this way too, and I'm gonna finish it with this. Just say that somebody was out to get you. They want to rob you. They go on this database and it's available to the public, and somehow they can research and say, dude, this dude got 20 rifles. That's where I'm going when he go out of town. That's exactly what house I'm gonna hit. It's dumb. It makes no sense. These people are incompetent. They know nothing about laws. They know nothing about guns. They know nothing about tactics. They know nothing about self-defense. These people, these politicians are running around with bodyguards. They don't have to worry about personal protection. And they trying to rob you of your rights. I hope that this doesn't pass, because if somehow it slipped through the House of Representatives and get to the Senate, you know the dummy, the puppet in chief, and Joe Biden is going to sign whatever they put across his desk. If this somehow make it through the Senate, it's going to be over, ladies and gentlemen. Our country exists no more. Well, not really, because I ain't abiding by none of this stuff. I'm already telling y'all right now. Do I need to be the first? I'm not abiding by none of this. I'm not getting a license. I'm not doing none of that stuff. If you want to come to the crib, be ready. Be ready. I hope you have your ducks in a row. But anyway, I love you guys. I appreciate you. Comment in the comment section. Let me know, is B. Tatum tripping? Am I tripping? Or is this HR 127 the dumbest, most unconstitutional legislation introduced by the dumbest person in Congress? Anyway, I love you guys. Make sure you visit beatingblackandblue.com. Also visit the Officer Tatum store. We get all the cool merch. And don't worry about all the stains right here. This is the baby just burping all over his daddy. Anyway, I love you guys. I'll see you on the next one. I'm out.